Hello and welcome to this TFL live stream here at King's Cross Station in London. We are live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok for a very important campaign launch this morning that TFL is launching with its partners here in central London. Now, it is an active bystander campaign. It's calling on Londoners and those travelling on the network to take an active role if they witness or experience sexual violence or harassment. Now, obviously, I have to say that as a trigger warning, we will be speaking about sexual violence and harassment and abuse against women and girls, and some viewers may find this distressing or triggering. Now, of course, there are 5 million passenger journeys in London every day. So many of us taking the network, and that can be up to 500 trains, for example, whizzing around the capital every time at peak time. So it is a really busy network. And of course, we need to ensure that there is safety on this network. Now, the bystander effect has been described as when, for example, you're in a very busy space and you might either be too risk averse or worried about intervening, or there might be so many people there that you think that someone else might have intervened already. Now, to tell us more about this important campaign, we're joined by TFL. So tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself and give us an introduction to this really important new campaign.
Hello, my name is Mandy McGregor and I'm the Head of Transport Policing and Community Safety at Transport for London. Part of my role is working with police partners and teams across TFL as well as other organisations to make transport and travelling in London safer. And today we're here to talk to you about our new Bystander campaign, which is an important part of our efforts to tackle sexual harassment on public transport.
Now, what is being an active bystander? Presumably you're not asking people to police the network themselves, but what are you asking travellers to do?
Bystander intervention is proven to be effective in actually stopping sexual harassment before it begins. Bystanders can play an important role in discouraging or preventing behaviour before it escalates. So our new campaign is calling on bystanders to take some small practical steps to help de-escalate situations and look out and support their fellow passengers.
Now, what can some of those tips be? What are you recommending for people who might witness something?
So we know from research that Londoners want to support each other and look out for each other but don't know how. So our campaign is about addressing that, giving some clear practical steps. So the first one is distract with a question. You can ask a fellow customer, someone who's being targeted, an unrelated question. What's the time? Do you know where I get to this stop? What's the next station? Would you like my seat? The second way is to make a note. So it's really important that bystanders document and report what they see. So take a description of what's happening, where you are, what time, it could be what bus route you're on. All of the information, whatever you have, is really important for the police for their investigation, but also helping us to put the right measures in place to help us prevent this happening to somebody else.
And what is the third one? Because often people might feel like, you're in this huge, big train carriage, but perhaps you feel a bit lonely. What is the third option that you can do to intervene in a safe way?
The third way, and so important, is just making sure that the person being targeted is okay. So check in with them, check that they're okay. Is there anything that you can do to help? And just let them know that what happened to them is not okay.
And of course, the TFL network is huge. This isn't the only campaign going on, and you have daily measures in place to try and keep people safe. What are some of those measures?
These campaigns are really important, and they're building on top of our core safety and security measures. So we make a significant investment in dedicated transport policing, which provides for over 2,500 police and police community support officers working across the network. We also have our own 500 transport enforcement officers who are there to deter rule breaking and to reassure our customers. And we have thousands of frontline transport staff who are there trained to keep our customers safe and support them. And we're training them in sexual harassment so that they're better equipped and more confident in supporting our customers should they experience or witness sexual harassment on our network.
And just finally, why is this so important to you? What do you want to see as the future of the network?
So the safety and security of our customers is our top priority, and we want to stop this intolerable behaviour on our network. So our aim is to make our network a hostile place for offenders and make it safe and welcoming for everyone else.
Thank you so much. So some really important tips there for what you might be able to do as an active bystander. We'll come back to those again at the end of the live stream. Now, some UN research released in 2021 showed that 71% of women of any age had experienced sexual harassment in public spaces, which is obviously a huge amount. And that number goes up to 86% amongst those of 18 to 24-year-olds. Now, I'm joined now by our campaigner, Zan Moon, who has played an important role in this campaign. Zan, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your involvement in the campaign.
Sure. So I wrote an open letter last year to Sadiq Khan addressing the hotbed of harassment, and that is Transport for London. I listed 200 testimonies of sexual assault that had happened from women that came forward over the course of 2 weeks. And since then, we've worked together, particularly on the launch of this campaign, but on many other issues, trying to eliminate violence against women and public sexual harassment from happening on the network.
Now, why is this something so important to you personally?
So, last January, I was victim to misogynistic and homophobic hate crime on the Northern Line. I was travelling with my partner in a very busy tube, packed full of men, and one particular drunk man was just yelling absolute profanity, misogynistic slurs, demanding sexual requests from us, licking his fingers, invading our personal space, and really just making us feel incredibly unsafe. We ended up calling out for help, asking for the people who were witnessing to intervene, and everyone just stared at their phone or stayed silent, and that was really troubling to me. We had to leave the tube for fear of our safety, a stop early, so that really hit home for me, and so off the back of that I decided to try and speak out about it and do what I can to prevent that from happening to other women.
Now, this is just one example of what many women will have experienced, and some may have experienced something even more serious and grave. Now, what can the lasting and lifelong impact of these kind of crimes have on women and girls and those who experience them?
It's really difficult to put into words without the lived experience, but the best way I can describe it is that women in society live in a constant state of hypervigilance, always looking over their shoulder, sharing their location with friends, grabbing their keys, looking for their torch on their phone, and that is no way to live, in a constant state of anxiety. And it's because of those microaggressions, you know, the catcalling, the leering, the constant jibes when you're just trying to travel from A to B, you know, trying to get from home to work safely without your safety being compromised is not a big ask. So it can have a real lasting impact, and that's why I think it's so important that we focus on doing everything we can as bystanders to prevent those instances from occurring.
Now, one of the tips is, of course, even just as simple as asking, are you okay? I know that this isn't okay, that this has happened to you. How powerful can that be to know that there is someone who has seen what's happened, somebody who's with you and in solidarity?
Incredibly powerful, and I think when people hear the word bystander intervention, they sort of freak out that we mean like waving a banner, marching at a protest and making a song and dance of it, when really actually the biggest changes can be in the smallest acts of kindness, asking someone if they're okay, documenting on your phone what's happened, reporting it to British Transport Police, and stepping in and actually asking, are you okay? That, you know, validating that victim can go a really long way. It takes the power away from the perpetrator and focuses back on supporting the victim, which is so important. I really encourage everyone to do that if they witness it happening.
And finally, what would you like to see in the future? What would you like to see us doing as a community of travellers?
I think for me, well, there's a lot of practical changes I want to see, but I would love to see just a general attitude shift in the general public, whereby standing up against misogyny is not something that people shy away from, but actually that they feel empowered to get involved in, and they feel proud to tell their colleagues and their friends, oh, actually I saw this happening and I did this and this. And then the lasting impact, I just can't explain what it can do for someone as a victim who's had that lived experience. Having someone check in and intervene can go such a long way, and it also sets an example for everyone else on that tube as well. And slowly but surely we can hopefully try and inspire a new generation of people who don't let violence against women go unnoticed and unchecked.
Zan Moon, thank you so much for sharing that extremely personal and powerful story there. Now, also joining us today at King's Cross is the independent watchdog London Travel Watch, and they have recently done a security report that we're going to be chatting about this morning, and it's all about people's willingness to intervene and also making sure that they have the tools to know how to intervene. We're joined now by Sasha. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your organisation?
Yes, so my name is Sasha Langeveld and I'm the Campaign and Advocacy Officer at London Travel Watch, and we're the transport watchdog of London. So our research into personal security highlights the impacts that people face when it comes to sexual harassment on transport. And, it's so sad that it impacts particularly women and girls, with 1 in 4 women saying that they've experienced unwanted sexual behaviours in the last 3 years, for example.
Now, what is some of the other research that has influenced this campaign and what you found?
Yeah, so our research, so we have 28 recommendations on personal security that covers a range of different topics, but sexual harassment is one of them. And we found that 63% of people said that actually they want to help other passengers when they see something happening on transport, but they just said it's not straightforward or easy to do so. So, it's really important that this campaign has gone ahead, and I think it definitely spreads awareness and gives people the tools to basically help others when travelling.
And what is your role with this, working with TFL and the other partners?
So our role is to hold transport operators to account for making transport, the services safe for people who use them. So we cover a range of different transports that are in London. So like I said, we do research and we make recommendations. And, this campaign is definitely a great example of the work that we do and how it can influence policy and change.
And what is next?
There's a lot to do. Personal security is a big topic, but in terms of what we're doing next is we're doing specific research into the LGBTQAI plus community and looking at what experiences they face when travelling in and around London when it comes to personal security. But we're also looking to do a scorecard to hold transport operators to account for the recommendations that we've given, but also their duty to keep transport safe.
Thank you so
You're welcome.
much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very, very much. Now, of course, one of the big elements is what to do next. What happens when you do see something happen? What happens if you are the victim of some kind of sexual harassment or abuse? Obviously, this just happened to a huge number of people, often people who are quite young. They might not know what to do. Well, I'm joined now by the Met Police. Hello, could you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about your role in keeping people safe on the transport network?
Well, good morning, Kirsty. Yes, my name's Gary Warbier. I'm a superintendent on the Roads and Transport Policing Command, and I have responsibility for 13 safer transport teams, which are across all of London, and we're predominantly working on the bus network, whether that's on buses, bus stops, or the hubs where the buses go to. And we're doing that on a day-to-day basis, and we're here today to put our full support behind this campaign of Transport for London.
Now, in previous live streams, you've of course spoken to the British Transport Police. How is your role different, and which areas of the network are you really looking at as the Met Police?
So our roles are quite similar in that we're dealing with obviously transport, but we're focused on the bus network and the tram network where that takes place. And we have officers on a day-to-day basis patrolling those and working hard across all crime types, but particularly there's a focus on sexual harassment and violence towards women and girls, which we find unacceptable, and we're working hard to try and to give people more confidence that we are there, we are visible, we're working hard to prevent those crimes taking place.
Now, if someone is on the bus, they've either witnessed something or experienced something, what is your advice to them? Do they go to the bus driver? Do they call you? What are their steps that they can take depending on how serious it is?
Absolutely, and there are a number of options. I think the first thing to make clear is they can speak to the driver. The driver then speaks to their operations room, and we're co-located with those operations rooms, so that can quite quickly come to the attention of police, and we can assess and then deploy as necessary. Obviously, people can contact us via 999 if they think there's an immediate threat to themselves or to other people that we need to respond to, and if it's not an emergency, then they can contact us on 101 or the various online options at www.met.police.uk.
Now, what kind of tools do you have at your disposal? I know there's a very extensive CCTV network. What kind of tools do you have at your disposal to try and catch the perpetrators?
Absolutely. So it's fair to say that Transport for London, through their bus network, have an extensive CCTV coverage. And on a day-to-day basis, we're scanning that CCTV to deal with crimes that occur. But we also have officers, we sometimes deploy officers in plain clothes, in uniform, to look out for those concerning behaviours so we can make an intervention where required before it becomes a crime.
Now, obviously, we're talking about active bystanders. One of the tips is, if safe, to look at potentially recording. Now, if someone was recording, what should they be recording? What kind of information would help you to bring someone to justice?
Well, I think that, first of all, it's about when it is safe to do so. And I'm really grateful for the guidance that Transport for London have put out there, because they've given some indicators of the type of things that the public can do. And that can be simply as recording or taking a mental note, writing something down, or using their phones to capture images or video footage of what's occurring. The key bits that we need to do is we need to understand where people are, the time that these offences are taking place, what route they're on, and then getting more into to understanding the description of people and the peculiarities, so that they can know, which will make it a lot easier when we're going back through the CCTV to then find out who these people are.
And obviously some people might be in a rush. Can they report after the fact? Is this something you have to report right away? Can people come to you? Obviously, many people using the transport network are in a hurry to get somewhere. Can they still come to you after the fact?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd always encourage, if there's an immediate threat to people, use 999. Outside that, when it's a non-emergency, then they've collated the information, they can report to us later on. They can go to their desktop or to their laptop, etc., and report online to us. We would encourage people to do that at the earliest opportunity, not to sit on it for a few days, deliberating whether they should or shouldn't. I think if you get to that stage, then really the advice is to contact us as soon as possible, so we can get that detail.
Thank you very, very much. Some really important tips on how to report there and what you should do to gather that information that might help the police in their efforts to bring the people to justice who might have perpetrated this. Now, we spoke earlier about the LGBTQ plus community. Now, Stonewall is a charity that found that 1 in 5 LGBTQ plus people have experienced a hate crime or incident in the last 12 months. And 4 in 5 of these crimes go unreported. Now, many of those might be at night, and I'm pleased to now be joined by the Night Tsar. Amy, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role.
Hello, I'm Amy LeMay. I'm the Night Tsar for London, and I work to ensure London is a safe, welcoming, prosperous place for everyone between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Now, how important is it that people be able to get home safe, and what kinds of reasons might be people be out at night? There's so many.
Well, Londoners are very active at night. We've got well over 1 million people that work at night in London regularly, but 2/3 of us are out and about doing all sorts of things, going to the gym, participating in sport, visiting friends, studying, just the list is endless. We also have the latest bedtimes of anyone in the whole of the UK. So, we like our late nights. We like to be able to get out and about, and that's why this campaign is so important, to make sure that, Londoners feel safe, regardless of the time of day or night that they're travelling on the network.
And what is the Women's Night Safety Charter? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Women's Night Safety Charter is a set of simple actions for all organisations and businesses that operate at night or employ women or girls at night. And so it's a way to tackle the scourge of sexual violence in our society. And so simple pledges around communication, believing, people that may come forward with complaints, but also training, and also designing spaces to be more welcoming for women and girls at night. So it's an integrated approach to anything that any situation that may be occurring between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m.
And obviously we're talking about the transport network here, but what kind of organisations are signatories and have signed up to this? Is it nightclubs? Who are we talking about here that women might be able to know that there is a friendly face there who can help and back them up?
Yeah, well, it's important to say we've got well over 1,000 signatories, and all of them are dedicated to taking action against sexual violence and incidents of harassment at nighttime. And we've got some household names that people might recognize, big clubs like, Ministry of Sound and Fabric, but also the Association of Corner Shops. So, women should feel safe to go into a corner shop and seek help in any area of London. Universities, TFL, big and small. It's really important that all organizations that operate at night are signed up to this.
It is so great to see everybody joining up against this kind of behaviour. How important is it that women do feel safe, and also that there is a solidarity? What do you think of the TFL advice?
Well, I think this advice from TFL is incredibly powerful because it encourages us to work together in solidarity using safe and simple ways to intervene. That's incredibly empowering. And for anyone who may have hesitated a bit in the past or felt a little less confident to be able to speak up, I think that this is a really easy way to kind of get in there and to make a difference and to potentially help stop things from escalating.
And obviously we want London to continue, presumably, to stay a 24-hour city and to be as vibrant as it is.
Look, London is a safe city around the clock, but we can always work to make it safer. So that's why this campaign is so important, why the Women's Night Safety Charter is so important, and why all the great work that Londoners do every day, looking out for each other, watching out for each other, standing up for each other is so important.
Thank you so much, Amy LeMay, for that bit of information for us. And of course, there are friendly faces on the network, and it is really important to know who you can go to talk to. So we're now joined by Tim, who is working here at the London Underground today. Now, Tim, tell us a little bit about your role on the network.
Yeah, so we're transport support and enforcement officers. Our main role is antisocial behaviour and workplace violence and aggression. We're a high visibility presence across the network as well. So yeah, that's our role.
And what should people do? Let's imagine they are coming through one of the TfL Underground stations. They've either seen something happen on the tube. What should they do? What is the best advice to them?
So they can always approach TSEs. We're here to help. So if somebody has experienced sexual harassment, then they can come to us, we'll get them to a place of safety. And if somebody has seen it, then they can come to us, we'll gather all the information and we'll pass it on to the police.
Now, obviously, tell us a bit about your uniform. Some might find this a little bit intimidating, but what is your message to passengers in terms of your training that you've had and how they can approach you?
Yeah, so we've got special training. We're a friendly face, we're not intimidating, you can approach us all the time. We're there to help, especially on network, like I say, high visibility of presence. Approach us all the time.
And how does someone know that you are that role? What have you got on your outfit? You can maybe turn around what's written on the back of your outfit. There we go. We have support and enforcement. So it is just that mixture, isn't it? It's being able to have the enforcement side, but also support people. Now, let's just have a look at those tips one more time. So we've got the tips that TFL are putting out for us. We've got our lovely assistants from TFL who have brought them out for us. Tim, can you take us through just some of these tips one more time?
Yeah. So make sure that they're okay, so you can ask questions while on the train. So are you okay? What happened isn't okay, I'll report it too. So always make sure that you report anything that you see, because that reporting will make a big difference to catching these people that do this. Make a note, obviously just get your phone out, make a note, what do they look like, what time is it and what line is it happening on. Make this note and then obviously you can report it to the police as well. Distract with a question, what's the next stop, what's the time, what zone are we in? These are all helpful questions that you can probe and obviously say to the person to get them out of a situation that they're in.
Thank you so much, Tim. Well, we are coming to the end of our live stream here at King's Cross this morning. Now, this will be available to watch again on the social media channels should you need that information again. If you would like to find those tips again so that you know what you can do, search for TFL Sexual Harassment Campaign and go to the website. Of course, all the organisations here do encourage that if something has happened to you or if you have witnessed something, please do come forward to those organisations to report to help bring down the number of incidents on our network and ensure that it is a safe environment for all passengers. I've been your host, Kirsty Malcolm. Thanks so much for joining us.